What's good, guys? Mike Moo here. Now, this is the Plume Flow 2. It is advertised as the personal air pollution sensor. Now, I got this for a number of reasons. I had some family members that had some difficulty breathing. I also have some family members who have issues with the pollen. They get a lot of allergies, and I wanted to know exactly what it was like outside. This is particularly very useful in cases where last year, we had a lot of the wildfires here in California. It was truly affecting the life and well-being of, hundreds of thousands of people in California and wherever else the smoke flew over to. So I'm over here in LA County. We do have quite a lot of pollution outside, and I just kind of want to know, hey, just how bad is it? Is it okay to be outside, going for a jog or walking, etc.? So I went online and I searched for this, and I paid for this full price by myself. This is not sponsored in any way. This is the Plume Labs Flow 2. Now, why did I pick this one? This one is not exactly cheap. This retails for $200 US, and it's available through the link over on Amazon. One of the things that I really liked about this was the fact that the sensors actually check out a lot of other pollutants that a lot of the cheaper units did not. So if you can see this real closely, I'll also put it on the screen there, is it actually tracks harmful pollutants of the PM1, PM2.5, PM10, VOC, and nitrous oxide. All right, that is definitely more than a lot of the other air quality sensors that I've searched for. And I wanted something portable so that when I'm out and about, it's going to be able to go ahead and give me measurements and readings, and also have a corresponding app to go ahead and track those settings. Now, the app is completely free. There's nothing else that you need to pay for it in order to go ahead and track it. But one thing that maybe some privacy experts and some people will have issues with is the very fact that in order for it to track where you've been throughout the day and various areas, it's going to need permissions in order to go ahead and basically track where you've been, and as a result of that, give you an idea exactly like, hey, what street did it seem to be more polluted? Is this area more polluted than normal? As you can see right now, my air quality index is actually quite high, and I'll explain that in a little bit. All right, now, when you get this, it basically comes with, or this unit comes with, basically a charging cable, the unit itself, the lanyard attachments is actually attached and built in here, and it is actually some sort of like a silicone strap, very similar to the elastomers found on my Apple Watch. So, the design and style is very clean. As you can see, it's relatively compact. This is really small. I've actually attached this to my belt while I was traveling over this whole past week, and generally, you don't really notice that it's there. And, that could be good and bad for a number of reasons, and I'll get into that in a little bit. And it's got a bunch of LEDs down here, which give you an idea. It'll change the color to let you know, hey, how polluted is the area right now? As you can see, it's pretty high right now, and I'll explain that in a little bit. Down here, there's a charging indicator. You stick this on the charging dock, and when it's green, it's charged or practically full. So this is practically full. I've actually charged it all day, and it's got these two little connectors here, basically to interface with this, so you can just stick it right in there and have it charge. And I'm really glad that they included a dock, because now I'll get into a little bit of negative here, is the battery life really lasts me only roughly 1 day or 24 hours. Okay, so the good. It seems to do a pretty good job, right? I don't know, I don't have a point of reference to other than my air cleaners that also track the pollutants in the air and thus adjust itself accordingly. So generally, when this thing is in bad, or it tells you the air quality index has a lot of pollutants in the air, generally my air cleaner really revs up and typically tries to clean the air as quickly as possible. And that's very true in this case. So at least I get that. Now, the numbers I receive from here are obviously going to be a little bit different from where my air cleaner is, because they're not in the same location. So depending on your location, you're going to get different readings very rapidly, very quickly. Now, how this works is there's a class 1 laser in here, which passes through, which basically shines the inside. And at least this is from my non-technical understanding about what about this is. So there's laser passes through, and the laser, if there's particles that pass through that laser, it will then be able to figure out, how big how big the particles are. So if you have a PM1, those are really small. PM2.5, PM stands for parts per million. 2.5, relatively bigger particles. PM10, these will be more closer to fine dust. Then you have nitrous oxide, and you got volatile chemicals, volatile organic chemicals, VOC rating on here. So my air quality sensor on my air cleaners actually don't measure this in detail. All right, so the readings are going to be a little bit different, again, as I said before. And a lot of it's going to depend on whether or not this is in direct exposure of something with parts per million like this. There's a teeny tiny little fan in there that revs up every, I don't know, every minute. I'm not sure exactly what the setting is, but you can definitely hear it. This is not completely silent. And how I found out about that is, as you can see right now, you can't, I mean, there's no way most of us are going to hear anything in general environmental noise. But when I was sleeping, I actually had this near my head, and I heard a little, it sounds almost like a really high-pitched whine, and that's the fan pulling in the surrounding air to pass through the laser in order to get these readings. So if I power it on right now, you probably can't hear it, but it's doing the sensing again, and it's letting me know that, look, the air quality index is 76. That's really not great. There's obviously things in the air that should probably be cleaned up, or you should probably not be around that area too long. It's not advised. Okay. Now, keep that in mind. That only tells you about what's going on right now, and whether or not these particles are harmful or not, that really depends on what they are. And this only tells you about the size of the particles, how many there are per million, and also the nitrous oxide and volatile chemicals. Now, if you have any more questions about that, the app actually gives you a little bit more information about it when you go do the help section and you check out the tutorials, getting started, reading my data, and reducing my exposure. So it tells you some things about that, and also some frequently asked questions. All right, so those are some of the positive aspects of it. You can export your data, which is also really cool for analysis to send out, and it gives you a little map, roughly, you know, what kind of average exposure that you kind of get around your areas, the areas you travel in, and what kind of exposures you have received as this is tracking you. So those are some of the positive aspects of this. All right. Now, some of the negatives and not so great things that I wish I kind of knew beforehand about all this. So number one, the battery life. This is, again, you got to charge this every 24 hours, roughly. And there is no power off button. So you can't power it off. You can set it into idle sleep mode, but then those are only certain settings that you can do. You can't just go, okay, well, I'm not going to use it this week, so can you just not power on at all? And how that works with this is there's a section here called Idle My Flow, and you basically choose between 2 hours, 8 hours, or 24 hours. So that's the duration that you have. And, you know, I wish there were a little bit more settings on here. Let's say I want it some more longer. I want it to do a complete shutdown. You can't do that. That is really kind of surprising and kind of annoying, especially for a product in this price range of some of the design qualities of its kind. So that's kind of disappointing in that respect. So that means that you have yet another device that you're going to charge every night if you're going to be planning on using this all the time. And if you don't, it just keeps running until the power goes out. And when the power goes out, when you charge it back up, it needs to warm up. The sensors need to be reset. You know, it's a 12-minute process, and then there's a whole 7-week break-in process as well that corresponds with this when you first set it up. So you won't get super accurate readings until maybe 7 days in. All right, and also 12 minutes upon boot up. 12 minutes, it's got to readjust the sensors, reset sensors, do something like that. Basically, it's got to warm up. Okay, so basically, you want to keep this charged all the time when you're not using it, which is not really great for something really portable. And if you're traveling, that's yet another thing you're going to have to go ahead and charge up. All right, so that's one of the somewhat negative things. Now, I really like the design. It's really lightweight. You know, there's obviously some sort of cost-benefit analysis in terms of having something this big, being able to sense all those things at once, and then have a direct connection via Bluetooth to transfer that data to your phone for tracking. Now, I realize there's a lot of compromises there, but that's something you need to be aware of, okay, as something that's portable on here. All right, and there's really only one way to attach this with you, and it's through this loop. Now, I found myself almost losing this because it's so lightweight and the strap goes in like so, but somehow, for whatever reason, sometimes I look down and I happen to see that this had come off. Okay, so I wish there was something a little bit more secure about the way this works with the system in order to ensure that I don't lose my $200 device while just out and about. And I guess just be more careful is my suggestion, or get another rubber band that goes around here, trying not to cover up too much of these holes in the sensors on here. Okay. Speaking of sensors, this is not waterproof in any way, nor can you expose this to dust storm or anything. Apparently that will mess it up. And actually, if you get sprays of water on here, that is not covered at all by the warranty. So if you look at the warranty on here, it tells you the things about taking care of the flow. Okay, so it's designed to maximize airflow to its sensors, right? But at the same time, because some of these holes are open, it allows water potentially to get through. And plus, water, liquid, rains, those things are not covered at all by the warranty at all. So this is not a rugged device at all, right? So it says, do not attempt to use outside normal operating conditions. That means at maximum temperature is 95 degrees, right? So right now, it's really hot in LA. It happens to be really hot today. Okay, so if I leave this out and I'm walking around exposed to the sun, you're going to get temperatures outside of 95 degrees. That would give you readings that are off. Okay, so you pretty much have to keep this in the shade. Now, if I keep this in the shade, it's going to be in a bag. It's not going to get the airflow. Then I'm not going to get good readings. So, there's a little bit of issue with that. And I suppose that's true with many other similar devices. Again, this is my first one of its kind. I haven't tried anything like this that's portable like this before, meant to be with you all the time. Relative humidity is 20% to 80%. And also, you got to avoid exposure to strong sunlight during operation. Okay. So basically, you're out and about. This has to be in the shade somehow. And if it's going to be in the shade, it might as well it's going to be in my bag. When it's going to be in my bag, it's not going to give me really accurate readings because it's in my bag. Okay. All right, so that's a little bit of a gripe about this, and I presume that other devices are going to have to face the same similar circumstances of issues such as this. Okay, so it's not a gripe specific about this, it's more a gripe about this general genre of categories of products in this particular price range. All right, now I like that it has built-in memory. I don't know about how much memory there is, but basically if I lose connection with my phone or it's not on or whatever, it stores an unknown specified amount of data in here. And then when I open up my app and it's connected via Bluetooth, what it'll do is it will download that data in here. So then I have a tracking of it. Okay. Now, the other thing. All right, let's look at this app here. Some things don't always work. Okay, so I'm looking at this. I have a summary of 21 air quality index. And basically, this is what I have here. Okay. So look at the ratings here throughout the day. If you could see that so there's a little graph here. See, the red is really just not good air quality. All right, so it's basically all in the same spot, right? It's only somewhat useful in a sense where I can kind of scrub along the timeline and see what I'm getting at. But, if I don't exactly know what's going on, there's no alerts or alarms that I can set on the app itself or on the device to let me know, hey, you know what you're doing, what's going on right now? Really bad air, okay? Watch out, right? It doesn't have that functionality feature. It just tracks it for you, let you know, look, you really got exposed that time. So basically, it doesn't proactively tell you that where you're at is a bad idea for you and that you might have some problems breathing later or you might have some allergic reaction. Okay, so I just heard the high-pitched noise of the unit spinning up the fan for a couple of seconds. Now, if you put this against your ear, or as I was sleeping, I had it near my head within like a foot, I have really sharp hearing. So it sounds like basically a dentist drill, okay? But it's really quiet. From this far away, you pretty much have to be in a quiet room to hear it. Okay, all right, so back to this. So this doesn't proactively tell you, it just lets you know what's going on, right? I wish there was some sort of alert where, hey, alert me if any one of these readings is higher than a certain level and to watch out this way and maybe to give some advice. I think that'd be great. I think that's a missed opportunity with this app. But luckily, since it's an app, it's something that the people over at Plume Labs can go ahead and try to help you out with, or try to figure something out with you. Maybe that could be an alert or something in the future. And obviously, you want to make that adjustable so that it doesn't bug you too much. All right, another issue with this, with the tracking, okay? So here in California, we drive a lot. We just have to drive places to get, to places, okay? So obviously, this is not smart enough to know whether or not you're driving, whether you're walking. It's smart enough to know when you're in a certain spot, okay? So it remembers that, you're kind of in a spot, and so if you leave that spot, it'll try to do more regular readings. So there is some intelligence already programmed in here. It's not just randomly always taking readings all the time. But naturally, that's going to affect what your trackings and trends are. So as you can see from here, this is not completely accurate to how things are really in Los Angeles. Okay, I'm driving through parts of Los Angeles. As you can see, it's all green. That's because I'm in the car, right? There's no pollutants. I have a good air filtration system going on in the car. That's not an issue at all. Okay, over here, I might have opened up the windows a little bit, so it's a little bit more yellow, right? And then where I'm at home right now, I have really high rating or really high air quality index rating, and again, I'll explain why in a little bit. These measurements aren't really accurate, and there's no way to set up a driving mode. The only thing you can do is you can say, okay, if I'm going to be in LA, I'm going to be driving for a little bit. Let me just idle my flow, right? So I can do my idle my flow so that it doesn't track those readings that just aren't going to help anybody. The idea behind some of this, if you read the app and the information that you're sharing with Plume Labs, is that they're going to take all this data and hopefully help society in some way, unspecified known way. I don't know. So privacy experts are going to say, I am a privacy expert, but some people who are really paranoid are going to say, well, I really don't want this to be tracking my whereabouts and my information to upload in the map. And that's fine. But if you do that, then you're missing out on some of the features that is the whole point of the Plume Flow 2. All right. So those are some of my thoughts about the Plume Flow 2. And I think it's kind of expensive. There aren't too many other products of this category. Of course, this is version 2, so obviously they learned a few things from version 1. I actually prefer the style of the version 1. This one does measure a little bit more and hopefully is a little bit more accurate. Hopefully they've optimized a bunch of other things with it. I just wish there was better battery life, okay, that the apps were a little bit better and that it was a little bit more proactive in helping us improve the quality of the air around you by giving you additional real-world tips rather than having you go into the app and try to search for it. And then even then, it doesn't really give you too much info. I still had to pull out the Google. All right. So as you can see, the idea here is that you can select a city from the list to launch a map. And basically, if you want to see, hey, what's going on in Chicago, let's see if there's anybody there that has the Plume. All right. So I don't think the people in here are all Plume users. These are all just from, when you go onto the Weather Channel, you can kind of just generally see, look, the air quality in Chicago is relatively okay. It's in the yellow. It's not green. I don't think you're going to find any city that's actually in the green. But I think the idea here is that by you uploading and sharing your data with the whole cloud and everybody else, you're going to get a good general feeling and an understanding of just how bad the air quality is. And look, it's already here. LA, no surprise at all. So when it becomes like this, do you really, really need to spend $200 on an item that generally that these were the highest readings around, okay, and it's red. It's not great. Okay, today is not great. Do you really need a device like this? And you know what? I'm not so sure. Okay, I am not so sure. Now, some practical uses I have done for this, all right, in today's terms of coronavirus, is I've actually gone into certain places, certain establishments, when they're open, and actually taken a reading. Okay, taking a reading of the air quality inside, just a little bit of indicator of how much airflow, because there's a lot of thoughts about how the coronavirus can spread through the air. A lot of it can be airborne, and that we need to watch out. So if they have a good filtration system, you're going to get green, and not so great, or too many populated people, too much stuff going on there. I would think that the ratings are a little bit more red or yellow, okay? Here's the thing with all this. Again, remember when I said this is not a coronavirus detector. This tells you how many parts per million are in the air. All right, so now back finally to the reason why my ratings are so high. Okay, my ratings are high in here right now is because I actually use air coolers to help cool the house. As I said, it's really hot. Now, the air coolers or humidifiers will spew a lot of particles into the air. And as such, these readings will be really high as a result of that. Now, is it really, really bad for me? I'm not sure. If I use distilled water, maybe it's not going to be so bad. But the very fact that you have these particles in the air and it's reading it, it's letting me know, look, you're pretty much going to die when this air quality index is like 140, 150. Get the heck out. All right, so that throws the readings off completely. It's not smart enough, nor does it have the sensors to differentiate between particles that are really bad for you, particles that are really okay, and some of it, on the gray areas, except for the nitrous oxide and the volatile chemical readings. Those are the only two exceptions. The rest of this, and the reason why my air quality index, AQI, is so high is because I'm using an evaporative air cooler. Okay, so there you go. So I don't know if I can recommend this for everybody. I think there's very special use cases for something like this, particularly at the $200 price point. I think, heck, if I'm traveling and I'm outdoors a lot and I'm just not, I'm traveling in an area that's outside my area, or let's say I'm traveling around Asia and I really want to get a feeling for the air quality around, I think this is actually useful. But I think for day-to-day, for most people, just generally knowing or just asking your favorite smart speaker or device what the air quality is outside is probably good enough to know. Okay, you don't actually need something to let you know. This is good for micro environments, right? Basically your room, the bathroom, when you're out in a restaurant, in a cafe, just out in the kitchen. But many cases like that, you can already smell what's going on before this thing even can alert you or know what's going on. Okay, and it won't alert you. See, so there's definitely some missed opportunities and improvements that can take place for products of this particular genre. All right, after hearing all that, I hope this was useful to you for making some sort of decision about these portable air quality pollution sensors and whether or not something like this might be useful for you. I don't personally have any allergies, okay, so I couldn't tell you whether or not this has improved my life much at all right? But it just does give me some sort of confirmation about what I know about air pollution and whether or not my air cleaners are doing a good job of filtering the air. And luckily they are. All right, that's it for this really long-term review. Please give it a like, subscribe for more. I'll catch you in the next video. If you're interested in this product or any products, please consider using my links down below. Most of them are affiliate links, not all of them, but most are affiliate links, and that would really help me keep this channel running. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next video.